So I actually think that every business should start as a media business and then build a product, whatever product that might be. Now, we didn't. We started with a marketing agency first and then thankfully acquired a media company. But the combination of the two has just compounded and made such a difference for our business.
Welcome back to the new revised Gen C. Over the last 2 years, Gen C has been a podcast that's featured the most insightful brand builders in the industry. We've had, everyone from Meta and Adobe to Artblocks and Kraken on the crypto side. Just who are the marketers, the big thinkers, the builders who have been creating the opportunities in emerging tech at the intersection of AI and blockchain and gaming. This season, we're really locking into a specific segment of the emerging tech industry. We want to focus on those companies that are the native crypto brands that are looking to break into the mass market and the traditional companies that are building crypto lines of business. These conversations are really meant to be a blueprint for those looking to build successful blockchain-based businesses of any sort. We're going to have amazing guests this season. We're going to have incredible guest hosts that'll pop in here and there. This season, we really wanted to widen out. The regulatory frameworks are different. The excitement is there. There's so many more people in blockchain and crypto and people who are looking for opportunities to enter this market in all different kinds of ways. So we really wanted to focus this season on the conversations that we can have with those who are pushing the future, but surrounding it with blockchain, either in a transparent way or in an obvious way. So with that, this is Gen C Season 3. Next up, we are going to have our conversation with Kyle and Jay. They're the two co-owners of Milk Road. Most people who listen to this podcast probably know Milk Road. Milk Road is a very successful newsletter and site that kind of grew out of nowhere. They were acquired within 10 months, 250,000 subscribers upon the acquisition. And these are the guys who kind of came in to help steward the brand and bring it to where it is today. And Milk Road is a really fascinating media company, advisory, and they really have their pulse on what's happening in crypto. So we thought that would be a great conversation to have for our first episode. So with that, welcome to Gen C.
Want market moving insights at your fingertips? Download the CoinDesk app for news, prices, videos, and events on the go.
All right, guys, welcome back. We are here with Kyle and Jay, co-founders of Milk Road. So excited to have this conversation. Big fan of the newsletter and the brand that you guys are building. I'm really just sort of the arc itself, I think, is such a great story that I want to hear from you. But first, I wanted to understand, Kyle, Jay, what's your guys' origin story? How did you meet, and then how did you both get into crypto?
So I'll start real quick. So we actually we're both from Canada. Jay's from Toronto. I'm from a town near Toronto, and we met at a bar in Toronto from a mutual friend, a girl who I went to the bar with, and she's like, "Hey, you should meet my buddy Jay. He's really cool." And she introduced us, and we ended up him and I left together, and we continued on the night, and we left her at the bar, and so we were buddies for a long time from that. But then where our sort of businesses adventure kind of started and got aligned was we were both in Bali. I had left my previous job and went to Bali to kind of start my own thing. And really, I went to surf, to be honest. But to start my own thing. And Jay was also there to kind of do his own thing. And the timing kind of worked out that we were both in media. Jay was starting a marketing agency at the time. I was doing my own sort of podcast and content creation in the health space. And we sort of realized that there was a huge need for this. And there was a lot of people who were trying to build digital businesses, but had no idea what they were doing. And Jay and I both had kind of especially doing that in our past businesses. And we said, hey, why don't we just team up and let's start helping companies kind of build digital brands and digital companies. And we were outside of crypto at this time. This was back in 2019. But quickly, we got on into the crypto world later 2019, early 2020. We ended up getting a client in Bankless, who's our first sort of crypto client. We helped them grow through the 2021 bull market, took them from, I think it was 15,000 subs to close to 300,000 a year and a half. It was wild growth. Not all because of us. The bull market just does that for crypto brands. But from that moment on, we got introduced to a ton of companies, and we really just dove headfirst in the space. And we grew our marketing agency. So you said we're co-founders of Milk Road. We're actually co-owners of Milk Road. We're co-founders of Impact 3, which is our marketing agency. We later started a media company and then acquired Milk Road soon thereafter as well. So that's kind of our journey into running a marketing agency and getting into crypto media.
Love that. So maybe Jay, you can tell us, you see this property, or this property comes across your radar, which is Milk Road. What was it when you guys first started getting interested in becoming owners, and then how did that go down? Because I know like they had a little bit of a kind of rocket ship up as well in the popularity of Milk Road itself, the newsletter.
Yeah, yeah. Milk Road was originally is moved hands a few times. So when we came in, we had been working with them as a client of our marketing agency. So we were quite familiar with their business and had been familiar with their business for about a year and had been in the back end and seeing what was working and what wasn't working. And essentially the long and the short of it is we had started our own crypto media brand, newsletter and podcast, and we had a growth problem as many media companies face. It's tough to grow media, especially like in the beginning when you're starting from nothing. And so we had great content, we had a great team, we really believed in our ability to execute and deliver very, very valuable content around building in crypto, around investing in crypto, around all of these things in the space, and even extending to AI and founders and all of that. But we didn't have the reach. And so this kind of match made in heaven came across our desk where it was like, hey, here's this big recognized brand, Milk Road, with great reach. We've got a great team that can execute and operate and really believes in what we're doing. And yeah, kind of the rest is history. We sat down and made a deal, and here we are a year later, and things have been going great, and team is growing fast.
What's so interesting to me about that is in the brand world, I don't think people value brand as much as we should, right? Like I think about, we interviewed probably 3 months ago, Connor, who is the CEO of Enron, right? And he was able to buy that brand literally for $250 because they've like let the trademark lapse. And he was like, everyone knows it, even if they hate it, they know it, right? So for him, the idea of something that had value and recognition was just already valuable. What can I do with it? And then I think that, to your point, you started a newsletter, you're struggling with it, and then suddenly this opportunity comes because these folks had built a great brand and it sounded like wanted to give it to someone else in exchange for a little freedom, right? So that sounds like, I mean, what you guys at Impact 3 do in general, right? How do you create value where you can, with the brands that are there? I mean, I want to go back to the Bankless story. You start, there are 15,000 people who are subs. Now, Bankless is a pretty well-known media entity within our ecosystem. What did you see as the opportunity? How did you guide them to get there for those listening who might want to do the same thing?
Yeah, it was funny. Back then, this was like early 20. So this was like early 2020. There wasn't a lot of brands that had a big presence in crypto at the time. It was just before, or
Maybe
like
CoinDesk, but I'll leave it there.
yeah, right. And it was also a time where it was just before a bunch of people started to come into the space. And so one, like there wasn't a lot we needed to do. There was just so many people coming into crypto late 2020, early 2021 that it was like our job was actually very easy. But what our job was like just be present, just get out there. And it's a thing that I think a lot of people in crypto struggle with, is just like create content and be everywhere and be present all the time. And it was like if we could do that in end of 2020, early 2021, we were just getting a ridiculous amount of subs and getting this brand like out there. And so for Bankless, I mean, thankfully they're a media company, so they're already creating content, and it was just more, can we get it on more platforms? Can we get it in front of more eyeballs? And so that was sort of like I would say probably one of the easier tasks that we had. Now we've expanded out and we work with protocols and chains and DeFi, et cetera. It's a lot harder because they don't make as much content, and they also don't take content creation that seriously. And so it's a lot of an education process for us to make them understand how important content creation is so they can be ever present online, because they are all digital businesses, right? So it's all about just being front and center at all times.
One of the things that I love, I mean, I was at the New York Times for almost 4 years before coming to CoinDesk. I love that I can have conversations with brands and can say, oh, by the way, we also have a distribution engine, right? So not only can we help you build as marketers, the idea that you also have a platform now that can get the recognition for these partners of yours, is that part of like your special sauce? Is like, hey, we have a distribution arm and we have a creative consultancy. Like, how do we is marrying those together really the way that you win?
So I actually think that every business should start as a media business and then build a product, whatever product that might be. Now, we didn't. We started with a marketing agency first and then thankfully acquired a media company. But the combination of the two has just compounded and made such a difference for our business, because Milk Road, well-respected brand, it gets eyeballs from a lot of people. Now, to be granted, like Milk Road is focused around like investors, but there's a lot of builders that are also investors, a lot of entrepreneurs that are also investors. And so Milk Road has done a great job of getting us more clients for Impact 3, our marketing agency, and vice versa, right? So Milk Road in our previous media company allowed us to really practice everything that we preach and we want to do for our clients. And so we get to test things firsthand with Milk Road, and then we get to go and say, hey, this works, this didn't work. Let's go do that with our clients, right? And so there's a lot of kind of overlap between the two that allow us to execute at a, let's say, a faster level, and I would say even at a higher level. The two businesses really do compound. And I really think that every business should start as media, or at least should start to build media, because it's your arm for growth, right? Regardless of what you're going to do. And even Milk Road, we're looking to create a bunch more products now. We have a few products already, and we just continue to create more products based off of the feedback from our audience, right? Having our audience tells us what products we should create or shouldn't create. We've had ideas we thought would be the best idea. Then we go to our audience and they're like, no, we don't want that. That's not what we need this at all. And we're like, okay, well, thank God we didn't go and spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars building that product. And so, building an audience and more specifically a community really allows you to like figure out what you should be building and how you should be iterating your company. Most of the most successful companies in the world, they started out doing something very different than what they do now. And again, it's because they just kept iterating, they kept learning from their customers or their audience or their community. And that's how you end up building a successful business. And so I just think the media arm just needs to be a part of every business, no matter what.
I mean, I'm interested in that for two reasons. One is, yes, like your customer acquisition cost when you can own your rails and you have a great community drops to almost zero, which, so many brands, Tesla is a great example of who built that way.
Right.
But not everybody's Tesla, right? I think like, Crest toothpaste is going to have a hard time making a community, and they may not need one. Doesn't mean they don't need to exist on social and have a media presence. The thing that I keep thinking about, and one of my questions for y'all is like, the media business is a hard one. This is not an easy thing to do. We know this through the ups and downs of CoinDesk itself. So like there are easier ways to make money than the media business. So I guess I'm wondering why that was interesting to you, or was it because what you're just saying is we wanted to be able to offer both sides of that coin?
I mean, on the media side, the reason we went media is we already knew media, right? Like we've been working in the media industry for a long time. Our clients were all in media. We had run media before, and it's like we know media. When I say a media arm, I'm not thinking like what we do with like a paid newsletter or what CoinDesk does, where you sell sponsorships. I more just mean building an audience, building a community. And I would argue like Crest, I have no idea if they have a Twitter account or anything on social, but like the reason why they are what they are today is they used to create media, probably in newspapers at one point, and then I know the TV commercials they used to have back in the day, right, with the Crest white strips and the Crest toothpaste. So like they also did create media, and that's what made their brand as trusted as it is. I'm sure they do other community-driven things. I don't know. I don't use Crest, so I'm not someone that can speak to that. But like ultimately, you want to get in front of an audience, and I think creating media is the best way to do it. Whether you actually build a business around the media side, I don't think every company needs to do that. That's just, it made sense for us at the time.
There's also a big difference between using Crest or a large consumer packaged good has massive marketing dollars behind them.
Right.
The challenge that I think a lot of people in the crypto space face is when you start, depending upon how you fund yourself, you might not start with big budgets, right? And you don't need to start with big budgets or a big funding round, right? It's actually can be quite favorable to not start that way and to build a little bit slower and a little bit more patiently. But if you as a founder have a presence anywhere, wherever you prefer, YouTube, podcast, Twitter, whatever it might be, that presence is just a megaphone and a multiplier as long as you're consistent. Like that's the key, right? Is like really like media to me is, it's not that it's like, and media might be the wrong word. It's more just like, create content as a founder or as a builder in the beginning. It's just consistency over a long period of time. That's really the key hack. As long as you're consistent for, a while, months and years, you'll build the audience. People will follow you. People will find you that are attracted to you and what you're talking about. That is inevitable.
Let's get a little bit more into the product, right? Like it sounds like Milk Road. I read this every day. I think it's one of the better pubs out there, which I really appreciate all the work that goes into it. It feels like part of the mission was to simplify and democratize information for a larger audience, which I think you guys do really well. I think that there's some in our industry, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, who don't want us to simplify, right? They you have to understand the realities of wallets and security and privacy and what chains are, layer ones, layer twos, which, to me just says, are people willing to sort of do the work, or do we have to make it that hard for them to play the game? What is your thesis on the product itself and how you want to grow that? And maybe if you have any, would love some insights on your audience.
Yeah, so our audience is basically everyday investors, and we want to help them become better investors, right? So you can call it retail, you can call it just your average person, whatever it is. It's the non-institutional people, the non-TradFi people that, for whatever reason, get attracted to crypto. And I mean, the reason is because number go up,
100x return.
And so
Don't
our goal
come
is
here for that reason.
Yeah.
Though.
The reason actually we started the products that we have with Milk Road in terms of Milk Road Pro, which is more of let's say bringing kind of institutional level investing, but simplifying it, as you said, democratizing that, making it more approachable or digestible for the average person. The reason we did this is when we first went through our first cycle of crypto, I realized that all of my friends that I got into crypto, they all didn't make any money after an entire cycle. And I was just like, I did, and then none of my friends did. They actually all lost money because they levered up or they went on Celsius or Voyager or whatever. And I realized that this was a trend that was not just my friends, but basically everyone I knew that got into crypto. They all made so many mistakes. And I was like, man, it's not that hard if you just kind of understood a little bit of the principles of investing and just didn't take too much risk. But the problem is the average person, they don't think that way, right? And so many of them just got caught up in different narratives and different risk-taking opportunities, et cetera. And so when we first launched, we had a media company called Web3 Academy. One of the goals of that was let's just make sure that the average person can actually make money in this space, because it's not that hard. The industry last cycle, when I think grew by 10x in terms of total market cap, how can you lose money in an industry that goes 10x, right? It makes no sense, but it happens. And so the idea when we had the opportunity to take Milk Road, we said, oh, this is perfect. This is actually what we wanted to do anyway. Milk Road's audience is perfect for that. And so it was hey, let's just try to create content and create, paywalled content or products that can help these average people make a lot less mistakes and actually come out on the other side of every cycle or every boom or bust or whatever, because these naturally happen in every asset class, and actually come out on the other side making some money. And so that was the goal. And in terms of why simplify, one, especially on finance content, it's very complicated. It's not very digestible for most people in the world. And yet most people in crypto are not TradFi people. So we knew there was a need there. But on the crypto side of things, the way that I see the world of crypto going is a lot of crypto rails is going to be abstracted away. And most people are going to end up using crypto not in the way that we use crypto or know crypto today. We're not going to be getting a whatever wallet, some Web3 wallet, and going and connecting into this thing and bridging and doing all these things. None of that's going to happen. We'll do it in the the normal way. We'll just use an app like Robinhood or Coinbase, or maybe it's a bank or some new one, whatever it is. And we'll just invest, or we'll just get yield or whatever it is, but we won't really know what's happening in the background. And so we didn't think that it was necessary for us to really go and get super deep into explaining all the technicalities of this stuff. We do when it makes sense for an investment thesis. There's some things you do really need to understand the technical components, but for the most part, people can invest in the space without understanding every little tiny detail of crypto and crypto rails. Everyone invests in the internet and internet companies. We don't all understand HTTPS and all the things behind the scenes there. It's just not really that necessary. So we kind of have the same mindset here with crypto.
I mean, I agree with you guys. I think and your focus on kind of the everyday trader and the investor, I think is fantastic. We've all been hearing about Web3 gaming, loyalty, Web3 media, decentralized media, collectibles now for 40 years. Have we really had a use case that you guys like outside of finance DeFi that is exciting to you?
Good question.
It's a good question.
Outside of finance,
exciting, sure, but product market fit, no.
Yeah, good answer.
I'm excited about all of the Web3 side of crypto. right? Whether it be ticketing makes so much sense, right? Like, why wouldn't a ticket be an NFT? Of course it should be an NFT. But you know why it's not going to be an NFT anytime soon? Because Ticketmaster has a monopoly on North America and they have no incentive to go build those rails yet. And imagine trying to teach somebody how to use a crypto wallet, like to buy a ticket. Yeah, right. No way. Like that's ludicrous, right? So the user experience side of it makes no sense. Yeah, and on the list goes. Like, should voting be on blockchain? Should our cars be on blockchain? Like, yeah, of course, but not at the not at the high cost that it is right now, right? It's too high of a cost to go do that and to train the users and to get them on board. So I like, what is a product market fit? It's funny because I was thinking about this the other day, and the one that I was, obviously, okay, so really excited about stable coins. It's all finance stuff, right? Like really
Yeah.
excited about stable coins, really excited about savings accounts being on chain, right? Like also kind of connects within the stable coin world. Really excited about 24/7 trading. Like
Mhm.
that's one that is coming. That's, yeah, we exist for crypto, but it's coming for equities when we tokenize equities and more RWAs come on. So like very excited about that. But again, it fits into the finance. So what's it? Yeah, that's a
But
tough one. I don't have
to be fair, the idea of blockchains in the beginning, and really its big thing was to basically to reinvent the rails of finance. That really was the idea from the very beginning. That's what Bitcoin was supposed to be. It's what DeFi has been. And so like we're trying to disrupt the financial world is really what crypto has been. Now, I think there's going to be a bunch of other things. On-chain media, I think, is going to be really cool in the future, right? The fact that you can do a lot more with your media. And again, what are you doing with that media? You're turning it into a financial asset, essentially, right? Like what Zora is doing. Those things are all really exciting. We're just like super early on a lot of it. One thing I think is probably coming sooner than later is like on-chain credentials, so you can verify content. Right, this is going to become really important as AI takes over. It's already taking over, and I think we really need that. We're not there yet, but like I can definitely see a world where Twitter or other social media platforms, they're using some sort of verification using the blockchain to understand what was made by AI or what was made by a human. So like that I'm really excited about. Obviously AI crypto is exciting, but I'm actually not as bullish on it as most people are. I think most of the good innovation in AI is actually outside of the crypto space. It's actually just in the AI space. And we just kind of take what they've done, wrap it in a token and give it a wallet and be like, here, look it's crypto AI. So like there's a lot of exciting things that are going to come from crypto outside of just the financial world. I just think we're still too early, and that's just going to take a while.
I mean, what's interesting is, Kyle, you mentioned, Bitcoin started really as a payment service, but it really was a peer-to-peer payment service.
Yeah.
Yet the majority of the money made in crypto right now is made at the exchange level, whether decentralized or centralized, which is sort of still, we've created banks. Again, however you look at it, we've still created
Yeah.
banks. And then I think about, Jay, what you said, which is interesting, which is it's not that we don't want blockchain for our car titles. We do. The two big problems are security and privacy, right? Like, how do we make sure someone can't just like get the NFT of our car title and suddenly be the owner of our car? And then secondly is because we can't really financialize that from an investment perspective, people are less interested in it. Right. So yes, Tezos put California licenses on chain or whatever that, they had done, which was an interesting experiment. But the technology could be a better technology. But unless people are excited to say, hey, I'm willing to invest in this and not necessarily get 100x return, is this worth my doing? And that's where I think we need to break out of it, which is finance should be a big portion of it. Finance is a big portion of the internet, right? Like we're not ignoring that. Like digital payments from our banks are amazing, and we don't have to like go to a bank to get cash anymore. That's incredible. But we also don't need that to be every part of our internet experience. And I think we in crypto sometimes get a little too myopic. You guys said it earlier, right? If number go up is the focus, we're never going to break out of what are those use cases that are just more because it's the right thing to do,
I,
right?
I also think that the biggest problem we have right now is money, right? Like is the financial system, the global financial system. It's obviously a really big problem. It's been a really big problem. It's getting worse and worse. And I mean that in terms of like, sure, governments inflating currencies, but also just like I can fly to Europe faster with like a suitcase of $10,000 of cash than I can send my money in a bank account to Europe. And in 2025, that's insane to me, right? Like the financial system is completely broken for the new world of like, everything is digital now, and so we everything is global, although obviously we're in a global trade war at the moment, so like I could be wrong in that. But like really, people travel a lot more. We have employees that are from different countries. For example, we have think 17 different countries that represent our companies. And so like, but paying them is an absolute disaster, right? And so like social media I know is also kind of broken and there are problems. I mean, I had my Facebook account banned. That was one of the reasons why I got into starting this marketing agency and got into crypto. So like I get that whole world of it too. But for most people, social media is fine and works. But for billions of people, the financial system doesn't work. And so like there's just a greater need to fix that first, which is why I think that's where we've started. But one day I think, there's obviously more and more problems coming with the traditional social media world, and we need to fix that too. And so like that'll come. There's just less incentive right now.
Mm. All right, let's go back to money for a second. My buddy Chris Camillo, I don't know if you guys have had him on the podcast. He's someone you guys should pay attention to. He runs the Dumb Money podcast on YouTube. These guys have made millions in equities as well as in crypto and a bunch of other stuff. He was on a podcast last week and he was talking about the trade war. And this moment is the time that people make like their money, where they get rich because they're willing to deploy into risk on opportunities. And if you have the stomach for it, this is where you can make your gains, right? We've seen even today the market's down quite a bit, and that's now a trend we've seen over the last 2 weeks. So, do you guys believe that this is one of those moments in crypto? Because we're seeing Bitcoin now low 80s compared to where it was 2 months ago when it was over 100. As people are writing about this every day, do you think this is like a moment to invest, or is this a moment still to hold off and wait? MFA.
Oh. Not financial advice. Big question. Big question. Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about this, obviously. This is what we talk about every single day. So I will try to be, I mean, TLDR, I'm buying Bitcoin under 78K right now. That's where I'm at right now. I like Bitcoin every time it dips below that. I think we're going to see more pain before we see a recovery. My base case right now is that Trump is going to push as far as he can with tariffs and with this market uncertainty because he really wants to make this shift for the American economy in a big way. That's not a small shift and not something that's going to happen very fast. Not going to all of a sudden onshore manufacturing and have all these new factories overnight. Like that's going to take time. But that being said, I'm not sure he has the patience to do it. So my bet is I still fall into the category that he is pushing down the markets in order to get the long end of the yield curve down so he can refinance the debt at a more favorable rate. And that I think Jerome Powell and the Fed will blink and they will cut rates and they'll add liquidity because they can and because they have no choice, right? And what does all that lead to? Leads to Bitcoin go up and other high risk assets will follow as well. And global liquidity looks to be on the rise. So, and Michael Howell and other much smarter people than me are predicting global liquidity will continue to rise until the end of this year. And the peak will be sometime end of 2025. So I still remain, to me, we are still in a bull run and there is a rebound coming. When it comes and how quickly it comes, and I don't know. And like I said, I still could see there being more pain in the short term.
Yeah, Kyle, are you buying or holding?
So the way that I explain this is pullbacks are for buying when financial conditions are loosening. Pullbacks are not for buying when financial conditions are tightening. And that's a simple way to do it. And so like 2022, 2018, whatever the one was before that, 2015, I think, financial conditions were always tightening. And so you didn't want to buy those pullbacks. That was our bear markets for 12 months. But 2020, for example, when we had the big COVID pullback, financial conditions loosened more than they've ever pretty much loosened. And the pullback we had last year with the yen trade unwind, financial conditions were loosening during that time. And so that was an obvious buy the dip moment, right? We sit in a similar situation today where financial conditions are actually loosening a lot. The dollar has gone down, oil has gone down, etc. I would say from that, you want to be buying the dips for sure. Now, there's kind of two scenarios that can happen here with what's happening with this trade war. And depending on what situation happens, we could be, we've already bottomed and it's time to go up from here. Once we kind of, this scenario one really falls into place, or scenario two, there could be a lot more pain. I believe scenario one is more likely, but I'm not ruling out scenario two. So scenario one, we get an agreement between US and China. Tariffs either go away or they're just like more likely they're probably just lowered back to that 10% and maybe only on select goods. That's my guess of what happens. I don't think he's trying to actually bring all manufacturing back to the US. That's insane. Never going to happen. He's trying to bring some manufacturing back to the US and get a jump on things like AI etc. That's like his goal because he needs to win that race. So he's not trying to bring Nike shoes back into the US. I don't think that's his goal, but he needs to get everyone on his side to go to China and hopefully get a deal. So like in that world, it means we've probably already bottomed. And I think whenever that agreement happens, markets rebound, liquidity looks good, like everything, as Jay just said, and we're back. Scenario two, which I really don't think happens, but there's a chance, which is they don't come to a deal, things escalate. In that world, it is a very bad world for markets. Crypto, Bitcoin, they're nuking. The stock market is nuking 50% plus. Bitcoin's going down. I don't even know how much. Alts say goodbye. They're decimated because like it's going to take years to come back from this, right? In terms of like rebringing all the manufacturing over to the US, and other countries have to do the same. So like global trade stops, inflation just skyrockets. Like this is a very, very bad world. The good news is like neither China or the US is incentivized for this to happen. So I think there's a very low probability, but if it does, of course, the response to it is let's lower rates to zero and print money to like fund all these factories. So like good for so short term bad for everything, medium term good for Bitcoin, and then like long term probably good for the tail end altcoins. But there's a lot of pain that comes if that happens. I just I know there's some people thinking that is going to happen. I don't buy it. Like there's no way that they're willing to just completely crash their economies for whatever reason. Like it just doesn't make sense.
So the Milk Road prediction market says 80% we're going to be okay, 20% run for the hills is what I'm hearing.
I actually wrote this down in a pro report today, and I was like, should I put my number probabilities? I was like, I don't know if I should. So I don't know the number yet, but you're probably actually correct.
I'm just playing with it. All right, so I guess my final question for you on Milk Road is like, what's next? You know, you said you've built a bunch of products. I know you have a pro product, but like, where do you think this brand goes in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so we're actually quite excited. We're launching expansions to Milk Road. So right now we are known as Milk Road, basically crypto. We're known in the crypto space. We create a lot of good content in there. But over the last year, at least since we've taken it over, and they used to create this kind of content as well, we focused on a lot of different areas. We touched a little bit on AI. We touched a lot on macro. We touched a bit on stocks, especially because stocks are beginning to use crypto, et cetera. And so, and our audience loves it. They love the kind of diversity of different content that we're creating. And so what we're working on here this year is doubling down on us as a media company and expanding the type of content. And so we're actually launching new brands. This hasn't even been announced yet, so you guys are getting it first. But we've got Milk Road. We're soon launching something called Milk Road Macro. We did announce that already, where instead of us talking about everything in one channel, we're going to kind of be more niche to our channels. And so we'll have a Milk Road Macro channel coming soon. We already have a show that does this weekly, and then we'll have other brands, maybe Milk Road AI, Milk Road, whatever else we decide next. We're not sure, but we have a full expansion plan to create more channels and basically more content, but that are niched to the areas that people want to learn about, want to invest in, and want to understand the most. And so instead of just being crypto, we think crypto is about to be part of everything. And so we want to start to accelerate and cover more areas than just that.
We also see a big crossover right now that I think is really interesting to talk about, which is the crypto is growing up. Crypto is having its graduation ceremony. And with that, two things are happening. One, a lot of crypto people who have been in the crypto space for, whatever it is, a few years to 10 years, are now looking at they're looking at the rest of the investment world, other asset classes. Should I be keeping my money in crypto? Should I be investing in other asset classes as well? And then the opposite is happening. We're having the TradFi people who are saying, oh, crypto is finally a legitimate asset class. And so we are very well positioned for normies, right? Like that is our position. We're entertaining, we're simple, we're accessible. And that's where there's this convergence happening. So we want to make sure we help people on both sides. Hey, you're a normal person who wants to learn how to invest in crypto. Great, come over here. Oh, you're a crypto person who wants to learn how to invest in TradFi, or wants to learn how to understand market cycles, or wants to learn what the government is doing and how their central bank printing money affects your portfolio. Okay, great. Here's how you can do that.
And also on that convergence there, we believe the big trend moving forward is things like stocks and private equity and, eventually real estate, et cetera, is all moving on chain, which means now there's going to be so many assets on chain. And a lot of these crypto natives only know and understand crypto assets. So I think it's time that we start to branch out and start to understand other assets, right? And so I think there's just a lot of convergence coming here. And we think that there's a lot of opportunity in expanding as a result of that.
being a media company, I think like this reminds me when I used to have my creative agency. This is years ago. We bought a lot of media, and someone would be like, "I want a Britney Spears fan or something." It was like my model, right? My persona, because I'm Levi's jeans, let's just say. And then you'd be like, "Cool, yes, you can go buy on Vogue, and you can spend a very high CPM, but that fan also does 25 other things that has really low cost media around it. So let's buy all the other media, right? Instead of the expensive ones, and we'll still get the same ones because we know from a sentiment analysis we can say, oh, this person actually sees these 10 different things. So I love that you're thinking about crypto as more of a larger audience, and that these people do other things as well. Very few people are like just buying only Bitcoin, even if they're just in Bitcoin ecosystem. They're interested in Lightning. They're talking about like ordinals and runes. They're looking at the infra that's supporting Bitcoin. Like there are ways to think about that. So I love that you guys are broadening out to think wider of who this audience is as we hit the 500 million wallet mark around the globe and that kind of stuff.
Right. The other thing I think that's interesting just for listeners to understand, one of the things we think about a lot is how's AI going to change building businesses? And we think it's going to change building businesses a lot, and especially media, because I think obviously AI is going to be creating a lot of content moving forward. There's already video creation services, podcasts, et cetera, newsletters. And we think that the big differentiator in that world where there's just an abundance of media is personalities, right? Humans still want to interact with other humans. They still trust other humans more than they'll ever trust an AI. And they want to know other humans' inputs and opinions and ideas, et cetera. And so we just think that if you're looking to build media, and this is why Jay mentioned earlier about founders creating content, we really believe in this. In a lot of our clients from our agency, we don't just run their brand's Twitter account. We actually help them with their founder's Twitter account, because we think that the faces, the humans, is what's going to separate most brands going into this AI world. And so when we say we're creating additional brands, it's because we want to create additional faces and personalities so that we can separate ourselves in those worlds as well. And then you can create products, and those people who trust that person will then use or buy your products. And so I really think that all brands right now, you need to be focused on building face brands, not faceless brands. I think that face or personality brands, whatever you want to call it, is just going to be huge as we enter this sort of like craziness in AI.
It's sort of funny because we're at this moment where you're seeing these accounts on Twitter, X, AIXBT, these automated accounts that are AI bots that are getting a lot of attention. They're novel right now, right? Everyone's excited about them. They're fun, even though we know that they're, you read them and you're like, oh, wow, you're so inaccurate in that comment. You were hallucinating. That makes no sense. We're like, ha, 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 AI has a Twitter account. Cool, right? So that's where, but that moment is not going to last forever.
Yeah.
It's going to quickly shift, because what's going to happen in the next few years is there's going to be this explosion of these AI accounts. And now we're going to be overrun, and there's going to be way more AI content than there's human content. And so you're going to seek out the humans in throughout all that. And this sort of also connects back, Sam, to your comment earlier in the episode, which is, how does this impact brands? And our belief is that brands also are going to lower in value compared to humans, because as AI develops, AI is going to be able to create more and more brands at a rapid pace that are very, very nice designs, very nice looking brands that speak directly to you, that make you feel, that understand your pain and the problem that you're having and how to solve that. Like classic, it's going to do all the marketing in such a nice, well-rounded package. And there's going to be this explosion of thousands of brands, But what you can't have an explosion of humans. That is the one thing that you can't all of a sudden have AI create, thousands, millions of humans. So if you focus on
humans are going in the other direction, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're going less than that.
I feel like this is a Black Mirror episode that I don't actually want to watch. But all right, final question. We're gonna be with you guys at Consensus in Toronto. I'm hearing some accent. So I'm wondering, what is the one thing an American needs to know in going to Canada and how to survive?
Right now, it's a tough time for Americans to come to Canada. I mean, I think younger generation, like I am obviously not mad at America at all, but like my parents are like, no one's going to the US. Like you can see the numbers right now. There's no one traveling to the US from Canada. They're all pissed because of the tariffs. So maybe don't have an American flag on your backpack as you walk around.
No MAGA hat. We shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Don't do that. I have to consent
Canadians
this conference.
Are so nice. No matter what you do,
I know that's the problem. You guys are amazing.
Friendly. learn to speak hockey. That's
Right.
what you got to do. Drink beer. And
I
learn
mean,
to
you know,
speak hockey.
all you really got to do is just, show up with your dollar. That's still, sure, your dollar's
Right,
going
exactly. Our
down, but
dollars,
so is
yeah.
ours, right?
Yeah.
So, you guys come enjoy half-priced meals and half-priced
That's right.
accommodation.
Go to the Sugar Shack and have a great time and make it happen.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle, Jay, thank you so much for the time. We're looking forward to hanging with you in Toronto as well, and tracking like how both the current but also sounds like the future success of Milk Road is going to go. Congrats on stewarding such a great brand, and the vision sounds amazing. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Marcel. This is great.
Thanks, Sam. Pleasure to be here.